Hey everybody, Sharon here from VidGamiac.com. Here we are today back in the Tricky Trials update for Minecraft, going for the Over-Overkill achievement. This is to land 50 or more hearts worth of damage using a mace. This is going to require us to get a mace, which is going to require us to get into a trial. So before we can get into a trial, we're going to need to raid our nearest pillager outpost. So make sure you try to find one, and then make sure you head on inside. Your goal is going to be to defeat the leader. The leader is going to drop an ominous bottle, which is going to be an item we need. So make sure you take out the leader. It's going to be the pillager who's carrying the banner on their back. Once you loot them of the ominous bottle, make sure you pocket that and then hold on to it until we can find a trial. Trials are going to be located underground. They're going to be these structures right here, basically smaller versions of strongholds. They're going to be lined with copper blocks, so pretty distinguishable from far away as you are digging. Once you are inside, what you want to do is you want to make sure you drink from the ominous bottle. This is going to start the trials. The trials are basically going to feature these spawners that are going to spawn in waves of enemies. You're going to need to defeat each of these waves. Every time you clear a certain spawner's wave, the spawner is going to drop an item. The item you want to pay attention for is going to be this. It's going to be the ominous key. Once you have the ominous key, you're going to want to look around the room when it's safe to do so, and you should notice these blocks right here called ominous vaults. Each key is going to correspond to its respective room's vault, so you want to make sure you take the key over to the vault, hit left trigger to open it up. It should spit out a random assortment of items. You are looking for one very rare item in particular. It's going to be called the heavy core. Every vault is going to have about a 2.2% chance of spitting out a heavy core. Now, unless you get super lucky, you're probably going to need quite a few attempts at this, so make sure you keep roaming around the trial, keep taking out those enemies, and keep hoping that the spawners drop keys, and then make sure you grab the keys, make sure you look for the room's respective vault, and then hopefully the vault is eventually going to spit out a heavy core. So make sure you stay vigilant, and of course make sure you are prepared to tackle the challenge, as the enemies can get quite overwhelming. But nonetheless, once your luck finally manages to hold out, you should be able to pull a heavy core from one of these vaults, and then you should be good to move on to the next thing we're looking for. Heavy cores are going to look like this, basically small little cubes, so make sure you try to keep it safe as we move on to the next location, which is going to be deeper in the trial. So the last room in a trial is always going to be the big trial room. It's going to look like this. You should notice there's going to be a bunch of dispensers on the ground level. Make sure you drop on down. If your trial is still going on, the spawners in this room are going to spawn this type of enemy. It's going to be known as a breeze. You're going to need to try to defeat one. It's going to have two different types of drops. The one that we are needing for this achievement is going to be the Breezy Rod. So make sure you try to loot one off of one of these, and then once you have it, that's going to be the other component in addition with the heavy core that goes into crafting a mace. So make sure you bring these two back to the surface, and then we're going to combine these two. So to make a mace, you're going to do Breezy Rod on the bottom, and then on top of it, you're going to place the heavy core, and that's going to get us our fancy new weapon. So the way the mace is going to work is it's going to be your normal swinging weapon. However, you can increase its damage if you perform a falling attack. Now, the other thing about the mace is this falling attack is going to increase in damage the higher you fall from. So we're going to basically set up a contraption to guarantee ourselves an attack that's going to do enough damage for the achievement. So this is going to require us to get some wood, some iron, and then a material that we could build a really tall tower out of. So we're going to do something really easy like dirt, for example. So make sure you get these three things, and then we're going to bring these back to where we're going to perform the setup. So first thing we're going to need to build for our setup is going to be fence pieces. So take your wood, make sure you convert that into both planks and sticks, and make sure you use those to craft some fence pieces. We're going to need about a dozen or so. After that, you're going to take the raw iron and you're going to dump that into a furnace to smelt it into ingots. You're going to use those ingots and then craft those into a bucket. You're only going to need one bucket, however, do feel free to craft another one if you want to save a little bit of time and walking. Once you have all that, we're going to need to find our nice victim that we're going to do the achievement on. So make sure you look for your nearest animal. It could be any mob, so make sure you just try to find something nearby. Then you are going to need to pen it up, so make sure you try to dig out a 2x2 square, and then we're going to surround the hole with fence posts with them inside. So it should look a little something like this when it's all said and done. Hopefully you don't have them fidget around too much. You might want to bring some bait in order to lure them back in the pen if you do end up losing them. But nonetheless, once you have the pen in place, we're going to need to grab some water. We're going to need to fill the hole, as we're going to need to have a way to have a safe landing if we do end up missing our attack. So make sure you punch out one of the fence pieces and then replace that with a block. That way you have a nice little stepping stone so you can start filling the hole with water. And then as soon as it's filled, we're going to then build our tower. So make sure you just use that stack of materials. I'm going to recommend you have a whole stack of 64 for this and just build it straight to the sky. Once you get to the tippy top, make sure you have the mace in hand. Make sure you peer over the ledge. You're going to need to drop, and then we're going to need to hit our victim as we are falling down. So this is going to be a pretty tricky hit, but we enclose the space as small as we could go, and we also have the water in place so we can catch ourselves if we do miss. And if you do miss, all you have to do is just make sure you build another tower up to this tower and then have another go. But just make sure once you are ready, you take that drop. If you happen to get the hit off, you should get this sound effect. Obviously, most creatures in this game aren't going to survive a hit like that, but that should be more than 50 hearts worth of damage, and if you happen to pull it off, you should be good for this achievement. This one's going to be for 20 gamer score, and that's all there is to it.